Alright everyone, welcome to Friday's video. Listen, apologies about the lack of a video yesterday. There is actually a good reason for that though. My laptop wouldn't switch on, which is quite a vital thing when I use it for virtually everything regarding the videos that you watch. So yeah, spilling pretty much a full pint of water over it the previous evening probably had something to do with that. However, the issue has now been fixed. And by fixed, I mean I've had to buy a whole new laptop. So everything is well. And if you're wondering what all my graphics, files, templates, videos backed up, absolutely not. So yeah, if today's video looks ever so slightly different, that is the reason. I'm basically having to replicate everything to do with this channel. Oh, just as well Celtic are good right now. We're going to chat a little bit about that today. I guess we could speak some more about Tuesday night because it was so amazing. Go through some of your comments. And yeah, we're now looking forward to Kilmarnock on Sunday, the final game before the final international break of 2024. So good and bad news, maybe good and irrelevant news there. Also been some other stories that I want to talk to you about at the end as well. But let's start with Tuesday night once again. And yeah, as much as I've had my issues since then, well-documented issues that I've just documented on this video. I mean, if you're anything like me, has anyone else just been walking around since Tuesday night just really happy about things? It's quite ridiculous that at 28 years old, and I'm sure many of you are the same regardless of your age, how much of an effect Celtic have on your happiness. And I've been so happy the last few days just knowing that we've got a real team to be proud of right now at the highest level of European football. A team who played like that and won like that against a really top side who really needed the result on Tuesday night. No caveats at all. It's just a fabulous Celtic team. And yeah, it's just been amazing since then. I've waited. I always think after these results, it's really easy just to get go a little bit over the top and exaggerate things. And there's maybe a few comments where there's an element of that. And there's always like recency bias and stuff like that. But genuinely, Tuesday night was one of the best Celtic performances I've ever seen in the UEFA Champions League. Like, that's not in debate for me. And yes, we've beaten better teams than Leipzig. And I'm not saying, like, Tuesday night's going to be remembered more fondly than the night we beat Barcelona or anything like that. But in terms of the performance and the way we passed the ball and the way we won the ball back when we didn't have it and the individual brilliance from so many players on that pitch, and the way we just completely dominated a really, really good side who are second in the Bundesliga. I can't remember Celtic playing like that and all those things happening very often. And probably like going back to like 2006, 3-0 win over Benfica. That's the last time if I was to look at matches when we absolutely dominated a team, played incredible football, scored incredible goals. And that's like 20 years ago. So we're looking at a pretty historic night on Tuesday night. And yeah, the exciting thing for me is I think there's even more to come from this team now. The confidence they'll have taken from Tuesday night, moving forwards into arguably some easier matches. But clearly, we, as Brendan Rodgers said, we need to stay humble, don't get ahead of ourselves. And on that note, let's go on to some of your comments that certainly won't be getting ahead of themselves. First of all, we've got Andy G. Boy saying, we looked a proper side, dangerous going forward, resolute at the back, and a confident, strong mentality throughout the side. We looked a very well drilled and coached side, so huge credit to Brendan Rodgers, especially after the potentially really damaging defeat to Dortmund. To bounce back in the manner we have done is very impressive. We were a joy to watch. Yeah, we were a complete joy to watch on Tuesday night. I wouldn't say we were a joy to watch against Atalanta in the previous game, but I think we may look back at that Matchday 3 game in Bergamo as being like a huge moment for the the evolution of this team, and you look at how wrong things went against Borussia Dortmund and how pessimistic we were all feeling going into that game against Atalanta. I remember people saying, I'd take like a 2-0, 3-0 defeat because we all feared it could be like another 7-1. And I think that night, avoiding defeat, getting a result and finding out that we could compete at that level by being well organised and defensive at times, I think was a major moment for the team confidence-wise. And obviously, as I say, the fact we got a point there gave us like something tangible to take away from that. So I think we'll look back at that game in Bergamo as being a huge one. A bit of chat as well, I meant to bring this up earlier actually, about what are the chances of us actually making the top 24. And I know we clearly look very good for that, and a lot of people talk about the top 8 as well. And personally, I'm absolutely fine for Celtic fans to talk about the top 8, because as fans, that's what we should be doing. We should be dreaming. I don't expect Brendan Rodgers to say, "Oh yeah, we're going to be getting the top 8 and all that kind of stuff," because that would come across badly. But as fans, we should dream of certain things. I just think personally, like, that is going to take an immense effort. I don't want us to like miss out on that and feel deflated in any way. So I'm not even really thinking about the top 8. What I'm thinking about certainly is pushing in as far as we can into this top 24, potentially getting an easier draw in the next round, and hopefully having the second leg at Celtic Park. But interesting, I want to show you this because Football Meets Data, who, and I don't exactly know how they come up with all of these things, but I guess it's based on a number of different factors. They're giving us a 91% chance right now of making the top 24. Also, as you can see, they're a 15% shot of a top 8 finish. Now, one more win across our last 4 games likely to be good enough for top 24. 3 more wins likely to be good enough for a top 8 spot. And it's interesting looking at all those numbers there. Like the vast majority, you've got 21 teams there with like an 83% or better chance of making the top 24, and you've got a number of teams at the bottom who appear to have very little chance of making the top 24. And it shows it's great to have Celtic as one of those ones who have a really good chance. I mean, Real Madrid only have a single percent chance better than us according to this. Obviously, this doesn't mean absolutely everything, but glorious numbers. Over a 9 in 10 chance according to these people, based on 10,000 simulations of us making the top 24. So we should feel good about things. Right, moving it on. We've got Canzo. It's been unbelievable for me as a Celtic fan over the years, but this current team gives me the biggest buzz I've ever had as a fan. Road to Seville was up there, of course, but I was a young boy, so you don't understand what it means to be a supporter as much as you do once you're actually a grown man. Aaron Jack also on a kind of similar note saying, Hamish, you asked where it ranks. For me, it's number 1, the best I've ever seen. 20 years of Celtic for me, but this is the best I've ever seen. It's good to be a Tim. So one of those comments about the buzz, one of those comments about Tuesday night's game, but both saying this is basically the best. And as I say, it's very easy after these games to get swept up. And again, as fans, like, we should be getting swept up. We should be feeling buzzing about watching this Celtic team. And I was trying to think of like the times I've been as a kind of teenager or older, like fully aware of football, the times I've been totally buzzing about a Celtic team. There's actually been a few times, mainly over the last like 10 years now, and certainly when Brendan Rodgers first came into the club the first time round, Invincible season, like, I just loved watching Celtic. I had such a buzz to watch every single game because we'd gone through a quieter period, let's just say, and Rodgers had come in and the stadium was full again, and the buzz was back after a number of years, and that was a team that was dominating domestically like I'd never seen a Celtic team do before. And we won the treble that season. I'd never seen a Celtic team do that before. We then had Ange Postecoglou coming in, and obvious reasons, I don't really need to go into that, because we all felt the buzz during that really intense couple of years, especially that first season when we're fighting to win the league back. That was just an amazing season. Still my favourite season so far. However, this one, the way it's going, might just eclipse it if certain things happen. And yeah, I think right now, this team that we're watching right now is probably the most excited I've been about a Celtic team ever, potentially. Now, caveat, I didn't follow the team during the Martin O'Neill days. I was too young. I went to the occasional match. Side note, I've seen Henrik Larsson score one competitive goal at Celtic Park, and it was against Celtic, so that kind of sums up my luck in life. But yeah, I wasn't really going to games at that stage, and obviously I love the Gordon Strachan days and all that stuff. Maybe a bit kind of young to fully appreciate it, but certainly at the moment, like, this is the most excited I've been watching a Celtic team. I think there's an argument that's a crazy thing to say, but this might be the best Celtic team since the Martin O'Neill days. They probably definitely have to still do some things this season. I think we have to make the last 24 of the Champions League, which are looking good to do. There's an argument we maybe have to make the last 16 as well, because obviously we've done that 3 times under Gordon Strachan twice and once under Neil Lennon. I think football's moved on a lot since then, though. The gap between ourselves and the really elite has clearly got bigger, which I think makes what we're doing all the more spectacular in the way we're playing football. I think there is an argument to be had at the very least that this may be the best Celtic team since the Martin O'Neill days. It's certainly one we can have at the end of the season, but certainly in terms of the buzz, it's remarkable, and I felt it all the way since the start of pre-season, to be honest. And to be honest, even the way we finished last season, I thought the team was excellent, and we've just continued that on. And there's been the odd wee kind of game where we've not been at our very best, and like the Dortmund game was an obvious low point. But generally so far this season, like, it's been a remarkable campaign when you consider where we are in the league, where we are in the League Cup, and where we are in the UEFA Champions League. And you really, like, if things continue going this way, and we continue winning matches domestically, continue doing well in Europe, like, you could be looking at an all-time great Celtic season, and that's how good it feels at the moment. So yeah, I'm totally on board with Kanzo and Erin and what they're saying. I don't think it is hyperbole to just kind of point out that this is, like, incredible times that we're living through right now. Right, Blehu. If Nicolas Kuhn continues on this trajectory and produces performances like that against Bruges, Zagreb and Young Boys, he'll be worth north of 30 million by the end of the season. It's completely mad to me that, what were we, 8th of November, so say less than 4 months ago, prior to pre-season starting, I genuinely in my mind had like real doubts over Nicolas Kuhn, and I'd actually reached a point where I was kind of doubting whether he would be good enough to make it for Celtic. And you might say, oh, that was really premature. I don't know if it was, though, because like he joined in January. I know he'd had his issues, but he'd played like 4 months, and he'd had a wee period in the middle where he looked brilliant, but I really wasn't convinced. Came on in the cup final as a sub, and like, he was really poor in that cup final, like awful if you watch that back, giving the ball away. He was so frustrating. And now, a few months down the line, I now regard him as a player who, when he moves on, and I hope it's no time soon, I think is going to break the transfer record and potentially take us up to maybe 35 million. Now, like, I think he's unbelievable. A player who's a star man in the UEFA Champions League against top opposition. But more than that, has just been a star man all season consistently. He's scored so many goals and set up so many goals. Like, I find it such a ridiculous change in his fortunes, and I guess it just shows us that things can change for players when you maybe have real doubts about a player. It maybe just takes one moment in a pre-season friendly against Manchester City, and then they build on that. Kuhn's just incredible player. More to come as well. Lewis McLean, the way we played last night was our way of announcing we are now a Champions League team. To have 7 points after the 4 games we have had is quite magnificent. Only halfway through our fixtures, so keep it going. Keep the faith, and in Brendan we trust. Yes, 7 points from our 4 matches. I always remember looking back at that brilliant Champions League campaign we had under Neil Lennon, 2012, 2013, beat Barcelona, etc. And the night we beat Barcelona, we moved, I think I'm right in saying we moved on to 7 points from our first 4 matches at that point. And I remember always just looking at that group table and thinking, wow, like it's almost like uncharted territory for a team like Celtic at this level. And here we are again, albeit in a 36-team league table now as opposed to a 4-team group. And I know we haven't had to play Barcelona once, never mind twice, like we did back then. But like the fixtures have been really tough for us so far. Like Dortmund away, Atalanta away, Leipzig at home is a hell of a run. And the fact that we've come out with 4 points from those 3 games, I think is really impressive. And obviously the Bratislava game as well, taking us up to 7 points. But it doesn't feel to me like we're up there and are just waiting to be brought back down to earth. Like it feels to me like Celtic can stay in this position given the fixtures that we've got coming up. Take them one game at a time, stay humble, and I think we can, stay in this position, possibly even go up the table a little bit. Svengali sounds, I said it after the first game, it felt like the last few seasons in Champions League, while results not great, we were starting to improve and building up to something. Last night was the culmination of that. Absolutely superb to a man. Even Yang, where did that come from? I'm not sure we've ever dominated a top team in Europe like that before, even in the O'Neill days. It was an absolute joy to watch, bar that 5 to 10 minute wobble in the first half. Yeah, I agree with that totally. Tuesday night did feel to me, and I think culmination is like the perfect word, felt to me like we've been kind of threatening this kind of night for a while, possibly for as long as about 3.5 seasons. I think you go back all the way to that first season under Ange Postecoglou, Europa League campaign, when we played so well in some of those games. Bayer Leverkusen away, Real Betis away, didn't get the rewards, and then in the Champions League the following year, like Real Madrid at home, even Real Madrid away that night, I thought we played some really good stuff and just weren't clinical enough and gave away daft goals, and the scoreline looked really sore. Shakhtar Donetsk that season, Leipzig even at home that season, a lot of missed chances. And then obviously last season under Brendan Rodgers, Lazio at home should have won that game. Atletico at home could and possibly should have won that game. Even Feyenoord away, we were firmly in that game. Lazio away, firmly in that game, but didn't get the breaks or didn't have the ability to take the breaks or whatever you want to say. But I remember saying, I don't often get a lot right, so allow me to be kind of slightly smug about things. But I do remember saying over the course of the summer, when a lot of people were saying, we're miles away in Europe, we'll never do it, well, no chance of making the top 24 and all that stuff. I remember thinking and saying, to be fair, all summer, Celtic are not a million miles away. That's the phrase I use. We're not a million miles away in the Champions League. Based off last season, it's probably just a bit more experience for certain players and clearly some quality in some areas, and Nicolas Kuhn's a clear example of that. Austin Trusty perhaps. Arne Engels is as well, as much as he's kind of seen as a replacement for Matt O'Reilly, who was clearly quality as well. The squad's a lot stronger than a year ago, and I always felt that this new Champions League format could be beneficial to Celtic, and that a top 24 spot should be what we're aiming for. And obviously we've not done that yet. We've still got work to do. We still need at least another win to do that. But yeah, I do feel like Celtic have been working up to this point, but it doesn't feel to me either like that's the kind of peak of our powers on Tuesday night. It feels to me like, and this is where you get really daft about things, but it feels to me like Celtic can maybe get better than that on Tuesday night and maybe do what we did on Tuesday night to an even better team than Leipzig. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like the team are still growing at that level, and they're still getting experience at that level, and they're going to get more confidence at that level, and the support are going to get more confidence as well. And Celtic Park, I think especially, is going to turn into a more positive place. Hopefully the fact we've won last 3 at Celtic Park now in the Champions League gets rid of that sense of doom that we had for so many years, that we're just kind of waiting for things to go wrong, because invariably they did go wrong. We've now won 3 games in a row at Celtic Park, arguably getting better and better as we go. And I just think there's even more to come from this team, and I still think we're yet to see the true peak of this Celtic team. That was good. I might use that in the title. Yeah, a final point I want to make just in the Champions League. I love this new format. I know there's been a bit of chat, I don't know if you've seen it online, about certain people, maybe from certain English teams, who didn't get positive results in midweek and actually lost, talking about the format and unhappy about the format. I think this new format might be one of the best things UEFA have done for a number of years. I love the fact you play 8 different teams, 8 different teams you need to focus in on, and you just play them once, home or away, and you move on to the next team. And there's so much variety in the competition, and I love the fact that all of the results are plumbed into this giant league table. I was a bit sceptical of how that would work and how it would look, but I think it's magic so far. I think this Champions League format has really kind of breathed some new life into the competition. I think it's so much better than the closed off groups previously. I'm well aware it's its first season, and we'll see how we're doing 3 or 4 years down the line, but I think this is fabulous, and I'm really glad Celtic are making the most of this new competition and maybe this fresh start that we've got in the competition. Just a final thing on Tuesday night, by the way, my good pal Gio, who you'll probably have seen his name floating around bottom right hand corner of the screen when he provides the images, match photos that we use on the channel. He's also into his drones, and he took his drone and flew it above Celtic Park round about kickoff on Tuesday night. And yeah, I just wanted to share these with you. He's kindly allowed me to do this, and the footage here is just fabulous. I mean, it was 5th of November too, Guy Fawkes night, so it's fair to say fireworks weren't just on the pitch, but yeah, what a view, what a stage. Okay, elsewhere, a few other wee stories before I go. Kyogo is back in the Japan squad. First call up in round about a year for him. Reo Hatate, Daizen Maeda also called up for their World Cup qualifiers against Indonesia and China. I think those 3 players are all in a pretty good place at the moment, and I'm certainly hoping that they get some game time. Maeda, I think, will. Kyogo, I think, has been talked up a bit by Moriyasu, the Japan manager. They've lost one of their players, is it Ueda? I think he's out for a significant period of time, so that may well be why Kyogo's come in. But fair to say, the Japan manager's been talking up Kyogo a bit as well, so he might get an opportunity. And maybe Hatate's recent performances, brilliant performances against both Aberdeen and Leipzig, will give him a chance to shine as well. Also staying on that side of the world, this side of the world, I guess, Marco Tilio will miss up to 2 months with another hamstring injury. Sustained that for Melbourne City on Monday night here. They beat Western United, so another injury for Marco Tilio. And finally, last night, a report from the Daily Record. Scott Burns there saying that Alistair Johnston is on the brink of a new Celtic contract. They say we have tabled a deal that will hand the 26-year-old a significant increase in salary and will increase the length of his contract beyond the existing deal of the summer of 2027. So a longer contract, more money in it for Alistair Johnston as well. His agent said to be in Scotland at the moment, so feels like a deal is pretty close. Obviously, really good news there. And yeah, we move on to Kilmarnock now. On Sunday, a ground where we lost twice last season, so not to be taken lightly. Clearly, we're in a much better place than we were for either of those matches, but actually really looking forward to this game. Just any opportunity to see the team back in action, and hopefully a big 3 points to just round off this latest chunk, which will be viewed as a really positive chunk, I think, as we go into another international break. This is Friday, isn't it? Yes, we'll have Brendan Rodgers speaking to the media later. Clearly, we'll have some reflections on Tuesday night. And I'll be back on tomorrow morning to talk more ahead of the Killie game, the usual chat there. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure to subscribe for more. It costs you absolutely nothing and allows more Celtic fans like you to find the channel. So all is well and good. We also put all of these videos we produce out as audio-only podcasts, available on whatever podcast platform you use. Just search Celtic AM or check out the description for a link to your chosen platform. I'm strangely out of breath. That was a lot of stuff we covered. I'll chat to you tomorrow.